Hey, what's happening, peoples? How is everybody doing? We're back with Soul Blade, aka Soul Edge. A lot of people probably do not know about this in Soul Blade. Current games don't even do half of what Soul Blade, has done. Guarding while being hit reduces the initial damage by 25%. So let's say if you're crouching, you're crouch guarding, right? You're caught in a mix and you guess wrong. As long as you are holding guard, you are reducing your damage by 25%. This goes a long way. 25% is a big deal. That is a big deal. Of course, it's only for initial hits. We go further. Crouching special mids reduces initial hit damage by 50%. Special mids generally, not always, are while standing attacks. For instance, Taki while standing B. A lot of characters have it with their while standing attacks, but it's not always that. Some have it while they're crouching in the midst of crouching, right? So it just depends on character to character. But if you just crouch, not guarding, because special mids can be blocked standing or crouching. If you aren't guarding and you are crouching, you reduce the damage by 50%. So let's say you were throwing out an attack, right? You're throwing out an attack and you get counter hit. It would still reduce the initial hit by 50% if it is a special mid. Okay, next we have whiff punishing. Did you know that this game has a whiff punish property? If you whiff punish someone, you get a damage increase by 5%. We'll call that the standard punish. You get an increase by 5% on the initial hit. However, there is a big punish that increases the damage by 10%. Big punish and standard punish is going to be a reoccurring theme here. So the difference between those two is it depends on what you are punishing. It does not matter what you are doing to punish your opponent. What matters is what your opponent is doing that gets punished. Specific moves per character have a bigger pot bonus for their punish. So for instance, most characters, when they throw out a launcher, right, they're 3B, have the big punish detriment to them. Or I need to reconsider the tier list that I was making and just reassess through all of their move lists. Fortunately, I did already do that and dialed in all of the characters' big punishes, the big punished moves. I call them punished moves. So we'll get to that later. But right now, let's just get through the informative documentation. Counter hits increases your initial hit damage by 25%. This is the standard counter. Now there is a big counter that increases the initial hit by 50%. So again, standard whiff punish 5%, big whiff punish 10%, standard counter 25%, big counter 50%. So these are quite big variables, right? And then we have one more. We have the jumping status, which increases the initial hit by 20%. It's actually like 19.7, 19.9. I'm rounding it up because I don't trust practice mode that much. And yeah, I just don't trust practice mode all that much, but these are the numbers that I'm giving you. So jumping actually can vary in giving you either 20% to 50%. And it depends on what move you are doing to punish them this time. So the only scenario I found that actually changes this is if somebody's jumping and you throw out in an unblockable, then the damage scaling, instead of giving you 20%, will go to 50%, right? I don't know if there's any other scenario, but that is like the biggest scenario that I've found, and that's why I just included it, just to be punctual. So these next moves count as the big punish. We have reversals, the characters that have reversals. We have wake up attacks and some command moves. count as big punishable actions. Note that jumping is not in this list. However, moves that do leave you in a jumping state can be put on this list. In fact, they normally are on this list, but because they are jumping and they have the jumping status, they actually are protected by the jumping status to avoid the big counter, but they will still be vulnerable to the big punish, which is only 10%, right? So a lot of variables again. So if we were to just add this up in totality, all this adds up to 8 different levels of damage that any move can have at any given point in time. Another documentation I have, it's called defensive tact. It's more or less going to go over what we just went over. Knowing how and when to take a hit. Against characters like Voldo and Sophitia, prioritizing crouch guard avoids their excessive guard damage. As they are low neutral damage characters, reducing singular strikes and an extra 25% can potentially double your life bar. Whereas against Taki, a stand guard approach outside of her horizontal range will reduce the unthreatening lows she has by 25%, putting her in a difficult scenario. Okay, and we'll just read this next part. Going to read all just the pros of these defensive actions you can take. Stand guard defends mids, reduces lows. I should add one more in there, and that's that it allows you to guard impact. All right, so just pretend like that's in there. Okay, we have crouch guard. Crouch guard protects guard gauge from strings, and unless it's a triple mid, you know, if you were to take a hit, you know, and you can't guard, then it's just an option for you to consider. Then we have crouching. Okay, the special mids. It reduces special mids damage by 50% even on counter hit. So we'll move on to the last one before we call this a video. We have the Juggle Knockdown. There are different states of knockdowns in Soul Blade. A face down knockdown takes longer to recover from than a face up knockdown. So what does that mean? So usually when you juggle somebody, launch them, hit them, they usually fall flat on their back. Then you have a chance to go for the ground and pound. Do you want to do a jumping ground slam, or do you want to go for the grounded ground slam, which is usually quicker, allows you to get the job done? If you go for the jumping, then you probably won't get there in time. They might be able to roll out, and then they might be able to punish you. So you have the choice to either go for the offense, either through the air or on the ground. Usually it's a damage consideration. Or you can just try to protect yourself from the wake-up attacks, because wake-up attacks are very strong in this game. They are a natural mix-up. They are safe on block, and you just don't want to get caught up in there. They have the option to sweep or the option to go for a mid, which can snipe you from a low jump. Okay, so when you launch somebody, how do you get them to go through the face down knockdown state? I can't say that I'm 1000% sure, but I feel like I got a good idea on how to achieve it. So hitting their lower torso in the air, generally near the peak of a normal launch arc, causes a face down state. This is a timing issue, and it also depends on the move that you are doing and the launcher that you throw out. You have the active choice to try to time your combos, not just going for the damage, but also trying to time what status you want from the combo. Now we have some attacks that cause a juggle face down more frequently than others. So mid attacks and certain launching combinations greatly increase a face down success ratio. So for instance, Sophitia has one that is very consistent. If she throws out a launcher, just a standard launcher, no counter hit, and she goes for her 3A, which is her mid check, and it gives you a face down state a large portion of the time. You have to try not to get it. And again, when they are face down from a juggle, they have a longer recovery period, which gives you time to go for the air ground slam instead of just going for the grounded ground slam. Now it depends on which character for which one you want to go for. Going for the jumping ground slam gives you a better OK position because the character naturally jumps back and you don't have to worry so much about the wake up attacks. But you know, it just depends on what you're going for, right? This opens the door for better combo enders and or better spaced Oki situations. So in an example of, let's just say, Siegfried. Siegfried I consider to be a very struggle heavy character. Playing Siegfried helps you learn about all the nitty gritty details of Soul Edge. So he's a good character if you really wanted to try to dissect this game. I thought he was relatively low damage, but I think I have to reassess a lot of details. So that is going to wrap it up for everything in this updated documentation list, and there you have it. Now I do have the punished list. So this is what the punished list is looking like. So you can't see what it all says, but basically the top row is what's all the punishable moves by a big punish, which means if they get punished, you get the counter hit 50%. You're eating the biggest possible amount of counter hit. And if you are whiff punished, you eat the 10% whiff punish bonus. I might save this for another time, but I do hope that you have all found something useful and exciting about Soul Edge. The game is deep, and I'm going to have to reassess what it all means. So join me in the future as we dive deeper into Soul Edge. Tell somebody to tell somebody. Low key, one of the best fighting games ever made. Catch y'all on the flip side. Peace and much love. Stay cool.
Out of the ring. The grueling battle ended with the victory of Knockdown. You win.